Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. The Columbia River system is the beating heart of the Pacific Northwest. This critical infrastructure helped transform our region into one of the most productive agriculture regions in the world. It serves as a supermarine highway for farmers to ship their products all across America while keeping thousands of trucks off the roads every year. The dams along the Lower Snake River have strengthened our energy grid, lowered energy costs, and made us a leader in reducing carbon emissions. They help prevent life-threatening blackouts during extreme weather, not just in Washington State, but in California, Idaho, Oregon, Montana, and Wyoming, and support a thriving tourism economy and small businesses. They help protect our region and cities from devastating floods. To put it simply, the Columbia River system is critical to our entire way of life. Unfortunately, some people don't see it that way, including a few of our witnesses here today. For more than 2 years, the Biden administration worked behind closed doors with a select group to develop a secret package of actions and commitments that would temporarily settle litigation, over the future of our river system. The agreement was released last month, and I am deeply concerned it advances efforts to remove the 4 Lower Snake River dams. While the administration will say only Congress has the authority to breach the dams, they wasted no time entering into commitments that bypass Congress and agreeing to spend more than $1 billion to achieve their political goal, again without congressional approval. What's worse is despite my repeated calls for transparency, the White House actively and deliberately left out voices of those who depend on the river system the most. Dozens of stakeholders and utility companies practically begged to be heard in this process, only to be turned away, shut out, and ignored. I'm sure our witnesses will say they spoke to everyone, but it's not honest. I've heard from many who the administration didn't talk to. And here's 40 letters representing individuals and organizations that represent thousands in the Pacific Northwest that were not included. This process was never about getting results for endangered salmon. It was a reckless pursuit of an activist agenda, a misguided mission to tear out our dams with no scientific data to back it up. In fact, this agreement relies almost entirely, on an inconclusive NOAA report, which it itself acknowledges may not save the salmon. It also fails to acknowledge our historic investments that have made the dams nearly transparent to fish. But apparently, a few unelected bureaucrats at the White House think that they know better than the peoples whose lives depend on them. And sadly, this level of arrogance is not surprising. After all, it isn't the first time an administration has felt empowered to impose its will on the Pacific Northwest. In the 1990s, after countless lawsuits, the federal government came up with a recovery plan for the northern spotted owl, and it locked up millions of acres of forest without scientific evidence to support such drastic decision. This devastated timber communities. Thousands of people lost their jobs. Our forest became diseased and bug-infested, which has led to millions of acres being burned, catastrophic wildfires. Now, almost 40 years later, the spotted owl population in the Pacific Northwest has declined. It's declined nearly 70%, thanks to an invasive barred owl and a misguided plan that didn't work. No one has ever been held accountable for the harm this did, and no one will be, which is how we find ourselves here today, fighting another plan we didn't ask for. We all share the goal of recovering endangered salmon populations, but we have to focus on what's actually going to get results, like addressing the exploding sea lion population at the mouth of the Columbia River. They're not native. Prioritizing habitat restoration, improving the ocean conditions. It's like a black hole out there. If we do not learn from the past, history is bound to repeat itself, and we're seeing it happen right before our eyes. The Lower Snake River dams are not the problem. and breaching them is not the solution. The sooner we accept that reality, the truth, the sooner we can get back to having a regional dialogue that includes all voices and achieves our shared goals. This is something that the administration is failing to understand. So I look forward to exposing the truth today about a plan that will destroy the lives, the people I represent. Thank you. I yield back.